Hello and welcome to my channel, Living Petrone. In today's video, we are going to do an update to the Mrs. Jones, or the Miss Jones. I don't know why I keep saying that wrong, but the Miss Jones Monster Cookie. These are the gluten-free. We have already done a review video. I will put the link in the description below for you for anybody who wants to see that. That's a little bit more step-by-step. You know, again, initial impressions and stuff like that, what I think about it. I gave it a very good score. I think it's a very good cookie. Definitely very simple to put together. Though I will say the reason why I'm doing an update video is because I did struggle a little bit with the cookies coming together and holding their shape. So when you put them together and then put them on the sheet tray to be baked, I just had a hard time keeping them together. So I wanted to do a little bit of an update to that, maybe show you some tricks, some little tweaks that I've made to make the cookies a little bit more enjoyable for maybe me personally, that maybe somebody else finds helpful. Like I said, we're going to use a little bit more peanut butter. Well, not in this case. We're going to use this mixed nut butter that I have because I don't have any more peanut butter, but we'll use that. And then we're going to use a little bit more butter. And then I've got a little extra sugar here just to sweeten them up a little bit. Again, I think the original recipe is really good, very simple for anybody who wants to make them really quick and, you know, just be efficient with their time. I think the overall taste was very balanced, especially for a gluten-free cookie. So you don't need to change that. However, like I said, I had trouble keeping them together, so it was taking me more time to form the cookies that I really wanted to. So as I said, is adding some more of this. You know, I'll show you what we're gonna add a little bit more of the peanut butter and the butter. And that should help some people if they're encountering the same problem. I've checked out a couple different videos and it didn't seem like other people were having that problem. However, again, I've made them twice now and I've had the same problem. So it could have been the peanut butter that I was using before, which was the Kirkland peanut butter. So some of those things can change. Also, sweetness could change based on the peanut butter you're using. The stuff that I use doesn't have any added sugar in it. And again, I wanted to bump up the sugar, so I've got some more here. So let's get set up. Everything's laid out for you so this can move pretty quickly, and let's get into it. Okay, so we have everything laid out here to start. Like I said before, I've already got the peanut butter inside of the bowl. So this is a half a cup of peanut butter now. The only difference between this and my first video was that I just used regular peanut butter with no sweetness. I don't have any more of that. And I didn't want to buy two big things of peanut butter from Costco. So I'm just using this. This is more like an almond butter. It does have some cashew stuff. It has pumpkin seeds, chia seeds, and flax seeds. Again, you can probably vary this up. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. It's just going to depend on what you like. Like I said, you could use almond butter. I'd really like to try this with cashew butter. I think cashew butter would be the best. But like I said, any peanut butter will work. Just be mindful that if your peanut butter has added sugar, that it will probably alter the taste, probably in a better way because sugar is delicious. So like I said, peanut butter is here. We are going to start now. I've got a little bit of extra butter, which we'll get into in a second, but we're going to start with the recipe calls for the 2 tablespoons of butter. So we'll just put that in and we are going to mix that up. All right, that's all done. You can see, very simple, nothing special about that process. We're gonna put the egg in. Recipe calls for 1 egg. And then we'll get this mixed up here. All right, you can see that's all done. Simple, nothing special. All right, so now we're going to add the mix. You can see in the bag. I don't know how well you can see that, but good amount of chips. All the stuff is in here. What I'm going to do a little bit differently than what I did in the first review video is I am going to mix this in. I think the first time I just poured the whole bag in. So this time I will not pour the whole bag in at once. I'm interested to see if that maybe changes how this works for me. So we'll see. I'm going to pour this a little bit at a time. Okay, so we have everything mixed up. You can see what it looks like. This time it looks like it mixed actually a little bit better. Just scrape it down. I believe I've seen people just do this with a spatula in some videos. Let's see if I'm having the same problem. You know what's funny? Is that I'm not, well, it's not bad. It's definitely a lot better than what it was before. So the first 2 times, like I said, it could be the type of peanut butter and stuff that you use. So you can see actually this one was pretty good. So you know, figures when I try to give a tip about something, you know, it seems to work out okay. But here's what we're gonna do. If you are someone, like I said, the first couple times I made this, the first 2 times I made this, I had a hard time with them staying together. So you have a couple options in that case. You could add more peanut butter, you can add some more butter. I'm gonna do both, and I'm gonna add a little bit more sugar to bump up the sweetness. Now, I've got about a teaspoon of sugar in here. I've tried this with a half a teaspoon. It didn't make much of a dent as far as sweetness, so I'm gonna try with a teaspoon right now. If you're somebody who's worried about calories, adding a teaspoon is only about 15 calories. So for the sugar, this is organic. This is just some organic cane sugar that I have here. So we're gonna bump this up a little bit with the sugar. I think it all got stuck in here. But again, if you wanted a little bit more sweetness, this is something simple that you can do. You can just add a little bit of sugar on your own. So we've got a little bit of sugar in. I'm gonna add a little bit of butter because more butter is more flavor. At least that's what they say. So I've just added an extra tablespoon of butter. The reason why I did is just to keep it simple, as far as, you know, telling people, you know, giving somebody, you know, if you wanted to add a little bit less, you could. You probably don't need to add any extra at all. And then, like I said, if you are somebody who is having trouble with them coming together, you could use more peanut butter. You know, you can decide how much you want to use. You know, for this, in this case, I really don't need much, but we'll just call it a tablespoon here. So, like I said, you probably won't need. It's just going to depend on how well they come together for you. Like I said, that could be different for everybody. You might not have a problem at all, and you could skip all these steps if you're not having an issue with it. If you are having an issue with it, these would be the first 2 things to do. If you don't want any of the extra, you know, if you don't want any of the calories from the extra fat, then skip the butter and just try it with the peanut butter first. And then, you know, again, if you want some more flavor, you can add a little bit more butter and you can add a little bit more sugar. So let's mix this up. Okay. That should be it. We've got our final mix. Everything looks good. The only thing I'll say is make sure that your butter is definitely softened, especially if you're going to add it. If you're going to add butter after the fact, after this is already mixed, it's a lot easier to get it mixed in with the peanut butter. But like I said, if you're doing it after the fact, just make sure it's pretty soft so that it'll get mixed in here. And you can see you can definitely see that it's definitely improved how this is going to hold together. And let's do a quick test here. You can see no problem whatsoever. You know, if you're seeing it on my hands, it might look a little, you know, it might look shiny from the peanut butter and the butter and stuff like that. But you know, what I have noticed about these cookies is they don't seem to come out greasy at all, which is nice. So I'm going to start to form these up, and then we're going to turn the oven on. We're going to preheat, and we'll get these in. Okay, so let's get these cookies formed. I've already formed one here. Now I already just made this easier. I have a piece of parchment paper sitting on a cookie sheet just to make cleanup easier. You know what I mean? You just throw it away, be done with it. You don't have to worry about cleaning the cookie sheet. But I didn't think I made it with the parchment last time, and it was pretty easy to clean up. So let's get these formed. This is definitely a much easier experience, you know, forming them. I think it's funny though that when I had a problem before with forming them and they didn't want to stay together, which you can obviously see in the first review video, and then I make it and I don't have the same problem. So, you know, what are you gonna do? Anyway, I hope that, you know, if you saw the video, or if you are somebody who ran into the same problem that I am, like I said, I've given you a couple options that you can use so that you don't have the same issue that I did. Like I said, probably the fastest thing to do would be tweaking that peanut butter. You know, you tweak that peanut butter, you should be golden. I just wanted to improve on the original a little bit to suit my taste a little bit better. So, you know, that's why I added some butter and I added a little bit of sugar. So, because I'm not as worried about the couple extra calories that it's gonna give me. So let's finish forming these up and get them in the oven. Okay, all formed up, all done. So as you can see, that one thing I did learn from last time is if you make these and you form them form them in a ball in your hand, or if you're using a scooper, like a cookie scoop or an ice cream scoop or whatever, like those little scoopers that you can buy, make sure that these are kind of pressed down a little bit. You know, you don't want them in a ball. You want to make sure that these are pressed down some. This will help, you know, let them expand a little bit. Also, it won't mess with your baking times as much, which is nice. So, you know, they'll come out very even. These cookies already on their own do a very good job of spreading out and coming out as a nice cookie. So we're just trying to make sure that you keep that intact, because they do a good job at it. So let's put them in. Okay, cookies are in, and I'm gonna let that go for about 10 minutes. This is about right, is what I think I did last time, so that should be pretty good. So we are all done with the Miss Jones cookies. They have come out of the oven. They've cooled for the most part. They're still a little bit warm, which is great. I prefer them warm. I think most people like a nice warm cookie. They're nice and soft in the middle. The baking time I had just about right for those size cookies was 10 minutes with my oven. Again, that can depend on your oven. You just need to see what works well for you. I know that if they cook a little bit too long, they will get a little bit dry in the middle, and they won't have that nice soft interior. I prefer the soft interior, so I'm a soft cookie guy, so that's just how I am. But these these turned out really good. So let's go over. I mean, we got a nice big plate of cookies, which is just staring at me to eat the whole thing. Which, don't put it past me, because I will eat this whole thing pretty quickly. So let's talk about this mix. I love the Miss Jones cookie mix. I love that this is gluten-free, especially for people who need this option. I think it's really important. I know that I don't see this at my Costco anymore, unfortunately. I have picked up their other cookie mix, which I believe is their sea salt chocolate chip cookie mix, which is organic. But I really did like this one. I like having the gluten-free option personally, so I do hope that it comes back to Costco. I hope the Miss Jones stuff does stay in Costco. If you see this, I think you should definitely give this a try. 100% give this a try if you're gluten-free. If you're not gluten-free, you never know what you're missing out, because this is a really good mix. And as I'll explain here in a second, is with some of those little tweaks that I did, I think that you're really going to enjoy them. I think they just enhance the flavor just ever so slightly enough to really bridge that gap between kind of where you kind of know it's a little bit. I mean, I'm kind of being, I'm trying to kind of get an idea of people who aren't used to eating gluten-free. You might kind of taste that a little bit more as opposed to someone who's been more exposed to it. So by doing a little of the changes that I did, that really bridges that gap where you don't really notice that you're eating a gluten-free cookie anymore. And that's what I noticed just trying this. So what we did is, I originally started with, the original mix. This time I didn't seem to have a problem with them forming together, which was, who knows what was happening with my last 2 batches, but that was what happened with the last 2 batches that led me to saying, hey, I need to make a change, so this is going to be a lot easier, because I don't want to spend a bunch of time forming cookies. That's just me personally. I want it to be easy, simple, quick, go, and keep it simple for you. So what we did was, if you're having a problem with that, if you're having a problem forming them, start with adding a tablespoon of peanut butter or whatever type of butter, like any type of almond butter, cashew butter. That was a mixed nut butter that I was using. So go to that as your first option. And then if you want to enhance the flavor some, or you're still having a problem, you could always add more butter. But I think the peanut butter or the butter issue, the nut butters, is going to solve that issue for most people. So I would start there. Again, when you want to go for flavor enhancement, I added an extra tablespoon of butter. That's going to kind of pump up the little bit of richness in there, give it a little bit more flavor. That's kind of what butter does. The fat is flavor, so as they say. And then I added a teaspoon of sugar. And I'm telling you, this batch compared to the other 2 batches that I made, it's really good. Like I said, it really kind of, that line is so skewed now, you can't really tell that this is a gluten-free cookie at all. It's really that good. And you're not talking about significant changes. I mean, the most significant one is going to be the butter and the added calories from that. But as far as adding, the sugar that I was using was organic cane sugar. So for that whole batch, I used a teaspoon. A teaspoon is going to be 15 extra calories for this whole batch of cookies, for this whole plate. That's really not a lot. You're talking like, less than probably, a calorie per cookie. It's definitely worth it. Again, if that's something that you want that little bit of extra sweetness in your cookie, which I do, because this is a very balanced, the cookie mix in general is very balanced, and it doesn't have an overly sweet, taste to it. And I know some people really like that. I could tell you, like, I know my mom doesn't really like overly sweet, so she probably wouldn't add the sugar. She might go for the butter, but she probably wouldn't go for the sugar. But again, it's all going to be a personal preference as to your taste. So that's what I did. Again, that added sugar, you're only talking about 4 grams of added sugar for the whole batch, which again works out to about 15 calories. So, and this is already a low sugar type thing. This only has 5 grams of sugar to begin with. With the enhancements and stuff, I think this kind of breaches this is like an 8 cookie now. I mean, I said 7 before. I think in the last review I said 7. I'd say it's somewhere around, 8, maybe 7.8, 8, somewhere in that range. Like I said, if you're strictly gluten-free, it's probably a little bit higher than that. I think it's a great cookie. It tastes good. I love that it's soft on the inside. It tastes good. I've seen some other reviews. People said, I think it was for their pre-packaged ones, I said they had a weird taste. I do not get any weird taste in this at all. And I didn't in the previous recipe, so I'm not really sure what they're talking about. It could just be the difference between the pre-packaged. But I suggest you try these little bit of tips that I've given you. They can really enhance this cookie if that's something that you're looking for. Maybe you're finding, maybe you just want to tweak it just ever so slightly for your preferences. You can start where I have and expand. It's your option what you want to do. I hope you enjoyed. I'm definitely going to enjoy this plate of cookies, that is for sure. And stay tuned, because we are going to do a review of the sea salt organic chocolate chip cookie. I picked those up at Costco's as well, so I have them sitting in the pantry. So we're going to do a review of that one. The only tip that I will give, I'll leave you with like this last bit of information. And this isn't so much for consumers, more for Miss Jones. Miss Jones, if you want to improve this, I would say the number one thing that you can do is make this organic. That would be the biggest complaint that I have, is that you have really good ingredients to begin with. Make them organic. It shouldn't cost you that much more money to do it. The other box of the chocolate chip cookies is organic. Make this organic as well. Keep it simple. Like I said, these box mixes were not very expensive at Costco. I think they were think they were $8.99 or something like that for 3. That's a great deal. I would pay extra or a little bit extra just to have this organic, but that's just me personally. But that's my suggestion for Miss Jones. But I hope everybody out there, if you've tried these, I hope you enjoy them. Leave a comment if you have. Let me know. Have you made any changes? Have you not made any changes? What are your overall impressions? But I will see you guys for the next video. Thank you for joining me.